I'm at Rock and Road Cycles Laguna Niguel. I'm with John and Garrett over here. We're checking out the Specialized Levo Expert. So a minute ago, we were looking at the comp. This one's a little bit lighter, higher end components, even a larger battery pack. It's actually a pound lighter, which is awesome because of all those components. And we're looking at the large right here. You were racing by a minute ago, John, and I was like, come back here, come back here. Like, what do you really think about this thing? You seem like you just give us a straight up feedback.
Yeah.
You're on a regular mountain bike right now, no electric. So, you know, how was this thing?
It definitely has the fun factor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to get out and keep riding further and longer because you have the ability with the pedal assist.
Yeah.
Also, the most fun I had with it was going up the downhill trails.
Interesting.
So, you know, really seeing how the bike can handle technical climbing, kind of toying with the engagement and the sensor. And
okay, how were you received? You're going up the trails, you know?
yeah,
is this all e-bikers that day?
Two
or
guys. No, it was early Monday morning. I had two guys. I went past. I said, oh man, you got to have a motor on that. And I pulled both hands off the bars.
Oh man,
so this is all me.
What did they think?
And they were just like, oh man. And that's about all I heard because I went by them so fast.
When you said rehab, like e-bike rehab recently or something, what was that about? What was that comment?
Well, you know, I got out on it 2 days in a row and then took 3 days off, got back on a regular bike and went out for a 15-mile ride. That was 5 miles of climbing right off the bat. So, you know, I was missing that
a little assist.
Yeah. So, you know, I had to remind my muscles that I'm the motor and
yep.
But you know, still get a lot of enjoyment out of that style bike. You know, it's definitely serves its purpose. For me, I love building trails. So
oh, really?
Now this opens up the ability for me to pack more weight and tools.
Totally. Thank you. First of all, that's a lot of work getting out there.
Pedal up the hills.
Yeah.
So I can build the trail from the bottom up. So I no longer have to ride the big loop around to get to the trail.
And then like coast down.
Yeah. So I mean, it's.
I didn't even think of that.
Definitely be used as a tool for that.
How about handling? Like they've gone to extreme lengths here to like make this look stealth. The battery's kind of hidden, the motor's hidden, and they're low in center, but it's a heavier bike. I mean, how much do you think this thing weighs that you're on?
This is a 30-pound bike I'm on.
Okay, and that's like 50.
Yeah.
So those extra 20 pounds.
It handles like a 50-pound bike. I noticed you want to set the suspension a little stiffer if you're gonna try to bunny hop it or preload.
Yeah.
Just because of that added weight you're giving into it.
Right.
Other than that, with the fatty tires, with handling, you kind of takes, you know, the thought process of picking a line.
So fatty tires, like more surface area, so you don't like sink in. It's kind of
control.
for the weight.
You can take any line. Same thing with climbing. I was pointing it towards the ruts, pointing it towards the sand, the various types of rocks, just to see, you know, the limits of how far I could push it.
Okay, well thank you. I know I just pulled you, you're like riding around. I was like, get over here, man. But that was great. I'm gonna go ahead and jump in on some of the specs just to go a little bit further. So this uses the Brose center drive motor, okay? And it's really tightly integrated down here. Same with the battery pack, but by doing that, again, I think it makes it a little bit more stealth, and they've got some good like kind of skid protection going on here. You're able to leverage the rear cassette. This is 1x11, so only one sprocket up front. You might be like, oh, am I missing that much? There's a pretty good spread there. I think it's like 11 to 42 teeth, and then you could always adjust this front sprocket if you wanted, but maybe it's 32. Works pretty well, very responsive. Because it's torque and cadence sensing, if you just ease off a little bit, not so much torque, as you shift, you won't get as much mashing, but there's no shift sensing. So like Bosch and Impulse, those are some trade-offs between the different systems on the bikes. The other thing that I really like about just the battery pack, you were talking about this, Garrett, it's like there's a really tight seal there, so it's not rattling around when you ride.
Yeah, the tolerances are, you know, super tight on all the fitment over the whole bike, you know, whether they're mounting the engine in or the motor in there or they have the battery placed in there. Really clean, very compact, and it's really accessible. So there's not, you know, a bunch of plastic levers you have to unlatch or anything like that where you'd risk snapping something off, you know, once it dry rots and dries out over time if you plan on having the bike for a while.
Sure.
It's an aluminum axle that they put through here. It's just a 6mm bolt, pop that out, and then the whole battery just pops right out after we remove this.
Do we want to do that? Like, it would be kind of fun to...
Yeah, I could pop it out.
Oh, so thank you for pointing this out.
You do have to have the battery off, so make sure you power it down before you unplug that.
Okay.
And then that's just a little magnetic plug right there.
That's the charging point.
Exactly. So this is exactly where you charge it, and then, you know, obviously make sure you hook it up before you head out.
Can you charge it off the bike too? Like, is that the battery that we're looking for?
I mean, if you have, say you're running a huge fleet of these things and you only have one power source that's inside your house, you don't have anything in the garage, rather than lugging the whole bike in, you can just pop a bunch of batteries off, lay it on the counter, and charge them up.
Okay.
So, and that's what I see, you know, a lot of people doing if they're going to be utilizing it as like a rental or anything like that.
Well, and here's the charger over here. I'm just going to point this out. So it's a couple pounds. It's a little bit longer and it's beefier, but that's because it's 4 amps, so it's going to charge a little bit faster. This is the Rosenberger Energy Bus magnetic standard, like a MacBook Pro or something. And then you can disconnect the wall side just to make it a little more compact if you've got a backpack like a Camelback and you want to throw it in and top your battery off to extend your ride. Maybe even like with a solar charger if you were like bike packing. That would be really cool. So the motor is 250 watts nominal. I think they say something like 500 plus peak. The battery pack offers 36 volts of power. So again, this is fairly comparable, and this is the larger size battery. So if you're thinking about, you know, oh, the comp versus the expert, you get the larger battery, which is going to get you a little bit more range. You get the higher end components, and this one's $7,500, right?
Yes, 75 for the expert level.
Yeah,
and then,
thanks for jumping on this. It's looking good.
As far as, you know, popping the battery out, super easy. You really wouldn't have to ever take the battery out unless you need to do maintenance on the battery or send it in for service or anything like that.
Or replacement.
Or even replacement, or, you know, popping it out for the rentals like we were talking about a moment ago.
Oh, that's a good point.
All you do is pop that axle out right there, and then make sure it's unplugged, and you just pull it straight up.
Huh.
And it uses this little latch system, so that's the only portion holding it in on the bottom. This slots into this bottom half here. Very stable. It's a part of the frame. It's not like it's an add-on piece. So it's, you know, less to, you know, loosen up and start rattling around.
Wow, a lot of. Can I hold that real quick?
Yeah.
I think we were saying this is like about 6.5 pounds.
Yep.
Really doesn't feel too bad.
6.7 pounds is what I weighed it at.
6.7 pounds. Black, and there's the skid plate we were talking about, and the energy bus
and
on the lower.
You can even see, we'll lift it up here, and if you
oh,
zoom in, you
cool.
can see all the cables on the bottom. So when it comes to maintenance, although the cables look like they're internally routed, which for bike mechanics has been an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
Because you have to fish everything through the frame. It's very easy to access all the cabling on here. You just pop the battery out, you can feed it right through, saves you time and money for, you know, paying a mechanic to do that for you.
Let me try to line this up a little bit holding the camera, but that wasn't too bad. And then there's that plug. It like plugs right into itself. That is so cool.
Exactly.
Wow. Pretty solid. And then that's the base of the motor.
Yep.
Down here, so it's metal, maybe a little bit tougher. And good job holding that in, because
we're going to pop the axle back in. Make sure you line it up there.
And it just screws right in.
Exactly. Yeah, it just screws right in.
So it's like the Maxwell thing that we've got down here. It's like a quick release, but then you unscrew it from the other side.
Yes.
Of the fork.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of.
So really good. Just snug it down there. And that's it.
Well, here we can lean it back up and maybe continue on with some of the coverage here. On the subject of tools, right, and utility, I'm always calling out that Specialized does a great job by including bottle cage bosses. You do get thirsty. Yes, you can have a Camelback and stuff, but I mean, why not? It's cool that they went to the extra trouble to do that.
So they thought of a ton of things on this bike. They really, you know, left nothing untouched.
Cool.
Even for the simple aspect of getting water off the bike. So they have a Z cage here, which is, you know, applicable to a bunch of bikes that they manufacture, but the Z cage allows you to pull the bottle out from the side of the bottle cage rather than traditional cages where you pull it out of the top. And obviously there would be some interference there if that was the case. So
that's true.
You can pull the bottle right out the side, very easy to do so. You could probably toss a 24-ounce bottle in there without issue. And then also they have another technology, it's SWAT. So it stands for Storage, Water, Accessories, and Tools. And if I could get this unclipped here.
Yeah. I was wondering, at first I thought, I was like, what is this little...
Much easier than this, I promise.
No, that's okay. No worries, man.
So you unclip that there, and then you have a little multi-tool there. So this allows you to access anything on the bike. You know, if you encounter a loose bolt or anything, or need to make a stem adjustment or anything
cool
on
is
the
that?
trail.
There's little stars.
Even got a little torque spit in there so you can tighten the rotors if you have to.
Huh.
So,
wow.
and then underneath here, we can use this to loosen the stem cap here. I'll show you this neat feature that Specialized developed. So
Okay.
you have a chain tool integrated into the stem here. So if we loosen this off,
It's clever. Feels like James Bond or something. There's all this
yeah,
little gadgetry strewn across the frame.
there's empty space, so why not fill it up with a tool, right?
For real.
And then this is something that you would see on the expert model only. You're not going to see this on the comp model. Sometimes this is hard to get off. So you can see you have a little channel there. You'd pop the chain in there, and then this pin with your 4mm tool that you'd stick right in there acts as the pin to push the link out. So you pop your chain link there, it pushes the pin right out the backside, and then you have little master links on the top there.
Sweet.
So like a little SRAM power link.
So when does that happen? I mean, is this, I was saying earlier, like, there's no shift sensing. Even with a normal bicycle, when you're climbing, or if you're shifting, and just over time, there's some wear, so you break a link? Is that's what happens? And you,
I mean, it's possible. We see it on standard bikes, you know, with no motor assist.
Yeah.
So given the fact that we now have a 250 watt
90
motor down there,
Newton meters on this thing, it's a powerful motor.
So you know,
there's going to be some wear.
It raises a question on, you know, what the manufacturers are going to do next as far as beefing up the components a little bit so they can withstand, you know, additional wear and torque that you normally wouldn't see on a regular bike, including the brakes.
So tell me all about the brakes. Like, what's going on here?
So you have hydraulic brakes on here, guide brakes. It's dual piston front and rear, and then they spec it with metallic pads just so the pad compound will last a little bit longer.
Okay.
So you'll be able to slow down. It's always a key feature.
Let's get a close-up. Yeah, you want to definitely be able to slow down. I mean, it was really cool to hear your friend talking about his experience, because on the one hand, it's like, whoa, 50 pounds instead of 30. But on the other, it's like, well, what if you gain 20 pounds? Like, yeah, the bike has some extra weight, but the energy density of these batteries, the cells, are really high, so you get extreme range. Yeah,
and then we can do a little demo on the seat post. So you'll see that the seat post lever, the dropper post lever, is integrated into the bar seamlessly. If you didn't know what it was, you'd probably think it was a front derailleur, which obviously we don't have that issue on this bike. But if we click this, the seat post is in the bottom position right now. You push that and let it go all the way to the top, and now you're ready for some, you know, cross-country riding. And then when you hit the downhill and descents, you want to lower your center of gravity on the bike, so you sit down on the seat, push the lever in at the same time, and then let go of the lever, and it will lock it right in place.
Perfect. Wow, that's really awesome. You know, we were talking about quick release up front on that wheel for doing maintenance. Looks like the back one's more built in, but that multi-tool might...
Exactly, so that's what they have intended for, you know, popping the axle out. That's why they do include the SWAT tool on there. So they give you a little multi-tool, so if any bolts need adjustment or even removing the rear axle, you'd be able to do so without purchasing a separate tool and, you know, worrying about carrying it around in the pack. I can't tell you how many times I've gone for a quick ride and didn't take a spare tube, didn't take a little multi-tool. And even though it was a short little, you know, sprint around the neighborhood, that's the time that I needed the tools and, you know, popped a tire and had to take the wheel out. So.
And the other thing about it is, yeah, it is a little bit heavier. So if you have a car with a rack or something, it might not work super well with a hang rack, although it might. I mean, there's space here, but you could take the wheels off, you could take the battery out. That's 7 pounds right there. So you aren't like overbearing on your car.
Yep. Yeah, so as far as the FSR tires, you know, a lot of the racks aren't really developed with this type of bike in mind. I know they do make ebike racks out there. Thule makes one that we support here, and it has little ramps that you're able to, you know, roll the bike onto the back of your vehicle.
Cool.
But 50 pounds, you should be able to, you know, pick it up.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so other things, we talked a little bit about the drivetrain. Do you have anything to tell me about just the SRAM components? This is a little bit of an upgrade.
So similar to what you would see on the comp model, they use the GX on the comp model. This is going to be the XO.
Yeah.
Same concept. You still have a 1x11 drivetrain system with the 1142 gearing, but it's just going to be a little bit lighter, so it will incorporate a little bit more aluminum and, you know, lighter metals such as that.
And then is that sort of the same thing on the suspension here? Do we still have 140mm travel, looks like?
So on this here, they give you the pike, and you do have, it's a pike fork, so it's a little bit of an upgrade. It's gonna be a little bit smoother, and you do have more adjustment on a fork like this. You have the rebound adjustment down here. It's gonna feel a little bit more plush and just be a little bit more buttery for you overall.
Okay, and then over here, we were talking about how this has like Kashima coating.
Yes, so this is an anti-friction coating on this stanchion here. And it's actually, you know, they utilize this coating in aircraft applications for like hydraulic actuators and things similar to that.
Cool.
And electromechanical.
You're like an engineer. I mean, this is awesome. Very knowledgeable.
Yeah, I'm into it a little bit. So.
Sweet.
So
nothing to be ashamed of.
Really
man.
Cool that they incorporate this into the shock.
Yeah.
And then the front fork on there, a lot of people think this is a similar coating, but it's not. They actually just paint this black here, so that's not any type of anti-friction coating. However, the fork still feels great.
Does this one come in a couple colors? We were talking about
this is the only color for this one.
It's kind of like this gray and blue. I mean, it looks really nice.
Yeah, so really popular. And They do give you a little graphics kit for the bike as well. So,
really?
You know, on the black model, if you don't like, you know, just the blacked out comp model, they do give you like blue graphics that say Specialized and things like that. It's a little design they incorporate into it.
It's kind of cool.
So.
Okay, yeah, like just getting the perspective from down here. We were talking about like the horse link suspension, and I assume it's set up for the extra weight and just to sort of work optimally with the e-bike. Versus some kits where it's just more of a kit where they kind of slapped it on to an existing frame. So very purpose built all the way around. I feel like we've just covered the heck out of this thing. Oh, I do love that there's adjustable reach on these brake levers. That's just something depending on your size.
You don't need a tool either, so it's just this little knob here.
It's just like a finger.
Pop this forward, you can twist that without any issue, and you can adjust that on the fly.
I'm calling that out specifically because this comes in 4 different sizes. So there's a small, medium, large, and extra large. And if you're a smaller person, but the brake levers are kind of standard, well, now you can adjust that so that your smaller fingers can still work it. I definitely appreciate that. That's just one of the bonuses of having like a bigger bike company that can, you know, offer a few different sizes and help you customize this versus just one where you're adapting your body to it. I think that's great, man. Do you mind hopping on? Like,
yeah, I can take it for a spin.
Actually, here, I got my helmet on, so I'll hop on it, and then we can get a shot of you in a minute.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Take it for a spin.
I'm gonna power it up here. That's the other thing. Like maybe when I come back, Garrett and I'll look at the app, because this is very simple. It's like minimal. You turn the bike on. These little LED markers, there are 10 of them, and they give you some feedback about how full the battery is. When you can arrow up to get to the highest level of assist, 3, or arrow down to get to the lowest. And of course, the lower you are, the further you're gonna be able to go, but you're not gonna get that assistance, so I'm gonna go ahead and take it all the way up to 3. One of my initial thoughts getting on this bike was like, hey, there's no display. I don't know how fast I'm going, how far I'm going. The app takes care of some of that, and if you crash with this thing, there's way less to break. It's just meant to be really rugged, and you can kind of reach down there quickly, but with 3 levels, it's not like you have to think about it a lot. One of the things I've been impressed with on this bike is just how smooth and quiet it is. At the lower levels, I mean, it's almost like unnoticeable. It just feels like, yeah, I'm riding a bike, like whatever. And then as you get a little higher, you're like, okay, yeah, there we go. There's the assistance. So I'm gonna do that, just pedal forward a little bit. See how fast that thing just like, it cuts out like right away, which is awesome. Feeling pretty good. Unfortunately, there's no like real mountain trail here, and this is a kind of a showroom model, so I don't want to break this thing or anything, but it's cool that they do demos here. I've mentioned the shift sensing and kind of lack of shift sensing a couple times. So what I've noticed is that if I'm pushing hard and getting that torque sensor activated and I'm shifting up, it can kind of mash, and you just don't want to mess that up. So shift thoughtfully with this thing. Here we go. Pretty sweet. Those big tires are fun. Okay, so we're back inside at Rock and Road. This is where they do all their fitting and stuff, and it just seemed like an easier place to launch the app and walk through. And they've got like, it's like a little overview, like a little demo.
Exactly, so they have a demo, and then they also have a sign-in where you'd enter your, bike information, so it'd be able to pair with the battery on your bike.
Huh, is that a security thing or what?
Yes, so obviously if you're cruising with a bunch of other Levos out there, they don't want you to be able to transmit the signal to other applications.
Slow them down.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay.
So they do have a demo tour. That's what we're going to be doing here today. Then it just takes you through the different features that the application offers. So here we have our map feature. So similar to what you see on like Google Maps or even some Strava applications, depending on which one you have, it'll give you like an outline of where you're riding at.
Well, I've heard that there are in-app purchases too, so you could get like offline maps, is what they were telling me from Specialized. That's kind of interesting, but otherwise it just uses sort of the online feature.
Yep. And then on the next screen here, this is where it gets a little bit more intuitive with the bike as far as, a lot of the features that the customers are going to care about the most. And everybody's worry when they buy an electric bike and they're out there on the trails, how long is the battery going to last? If I'm doing a 20-mile ride, will I have enough battery to get back?
Yeah.
So I'm not pedaling a 50-pound bike uphill.
It's a range anxiety thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and the Specialized battery has more than enough juice to get you well on your way. So on this here, you can actually set your battery up to how much percentage you want left at the end of your ride. So say you go for a 2-hour ride, you want 10% left by the time you return. You estimate your ride's going to be, 30 kilometers or whatnot. And then you can also set the duration of your ride, so 2 hours, 30 minutes. And obviously, the life and range of your battery is going to be dependent on, the elevation that you're climbing.
Oh, and also, I think this is neat how they let you set, like, don't drain it to 0, because I've heard that, it kind of stresses the cells. You kind of want to keep it like 20 to 80 or something like that.
It does, yeah. You do want to exercise the cells a little bit, so you don't want to constantly be dumping it all the way and then, not charging it back up and letting it sit for a prolonged period of time with no charge on it.
And extreme cold and extreme heat can be hard on those lithium-ion batteries.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So having a removable battery means you can store that inside, or you can put it somewhere else.
Exactly.
Love that. Okay, cool. So this is the next section.
So then we move on to the dashboard feature on the app. So here you have your distance. It's more, just a second by second database of all the information getting fed into the app.
Speed,
distance, all that stuff.
Battery level. Okay, yeah, it's kind
exactly.
of
So when you're cruising around, if you have like a handlebar mount or anything like that, considering Specialized doesn't have a mount on their handlebar, for those of you who are lacking that and want that feature, you can always just get a case, pop it on your handlebar, look really clean, and then you can have all that information stored on your phone, so you just pop it right off and upload it to Strava or whatever you want to do with the information.
That's
rather
cool.
than having all that information just stuck on your bike where you have to plug it into like a USB port or something.
And I was told that this is integrated with like the electric side of Strava or something, so you've got the integration. It's more convenient and fun, but you're also kind of not like cheating.
Exactly. So there's not going to be a ton of KOMs out there for people who have ridden a bike like once this year.
Yeah.
So that's nice that they did segment it like that.
That's sweet. And I was commenting on the ride where it's like, oh, you don't know your speed, you don't know your odometer and stuff. It's on the app, so that's cool. Can I flick to the next?
Swipe it.
What is current status, healthy? Oh, so it's like a diagnostics. Charging status, battery health, odometer, battery motor. It gets pretty deep here. Travel mode, eco. So this is like the three button, like I guess with the button on the side of the battery, you can go like low, medium, high. So
exactly.
Here you can refine it more.
So they have like a 30%. This is going to correspond to the mode that you have it on the battery itself. So that dial that we switched on the side of the actual battery pack, it will update to this and correspond to however you have it set on the battery, so you're able to see that. But you can adjust it here from my understanding. So if you do want it at 30% power, then there's 50% power, then you have 100% assist.
Yeah. And acceleration, okay, this is cool because we were talking about how smooth it is, and I mean, I was probably just trying to ingratiate the bike a little bit. You guys sell them and stuff. It's exciting, but it's a kind of a smoother start. It's not like
exactly.
Sometimes you want that feeling, other times you don't, and this gives you a little bit of that control. I didn't even realize it. So it's like eco, normal, or race acceleration response, and I'm assuming that's what it gives you, more of like an abrupt start.
From my understanding, that's exactly what it is. I know there's different power modes of assist, and then also your acceleration response, as well, as we can see through the app here.
Week, distance, so it's kind of got your calendar, and then ride history, money saved. So you like put in your local gas prices or something.
I'm not sure about that feature, so.
Is this experimental? Trees saved? Oh, that's fun. They're really going crazy with this thing. Elevation. Okay, so that's sort of like this Strava feedback map preview. Okay, cool. Again, thank you for letting us use your phone and get the demo on this thing. Okay, so we're mounting up.
All right.
Oh boy, that's that shifting. You want to give it a little bit of a lighter start so you don't get that mashing. Oh, and there's that seat post. He popped it up. Very nice. It's a sweet looking bike. Cool, man. How's it feeling?
Going great. The motor has a really smooth transition, so into the power. So there's no jolting or immediate response.
Garrett, this has been a ton of fun. Thank you for hopping on the bike and cruising around.
Thanks for stopping by.
You were so knowledgeable, man. And that, the whole point here is just like, what's going on? Like, what's the deal with this? I love that there's so much like bicycle technology, and that the e-bike part is just, it's like refined.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really well integrated.
Really, really fun out there on the trail. I wish we can kind of explore that a little more in the video, but unfortunately we're stuck here with the paved parking lot. That's about the extent of that.
We did our best. You're bunny hopping and doing some stuff. So big thanks as well to Rock and Road Cyclery, Laguna Niguel, Southern California. Beautiful day out.
Yep.
Cool. For the full write-up on this and some of the other specialized electric bikes, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Of course, ride safe. And if you have one of these, or maybe you have some questions or comments, just, shout out for sure. See you on the trail.